Hi, my name is Adawiyah binti Muhammad Khairi and I'm going to present to you a topic 3 published journal business ethic, and my lecturer is Puan Zainab. So what I'm going to explain to you in this presentation is about the first one is article author's name, the second one is Gilligan ethic care theory, and the third one is Artistotle justice theory. The fourth one is right theory, and after that I will analyze and compare, and lastly a discussion about 3 different articles. So the first one is article author's name. So I picked 3 different articles from 3 different authors. The first one is Gilligan ethic care theory. The author is Eva, and she's from University of Oslo. And the title of her journal is Measuring Care, Best Moral Development, the Ethic of Care Interview. So basically, she do some interview on this ethic care theory. The second one is Artistotle justice theory. The authors is Parisa, Ali Reza, and Hassan. They are from Science Arena Publications, Specialty Journal of Politics and Law. Basically, this article is aimed to find a response to reach a purpose. The third one is right theory, and the authors is Manuel Velasquez, Claire Andre, and Thomas Shanks, and they are from Santa Clara University, and their article is about describe rights theory. So let's jump into the first theory is Gilligan ethics care theory. So actually the research on this article is focused on developed instrument of care-based moral development, the ethic of care interview. And actually the purpose of this interview is to locate individuals in one of the ethics of care levels based on their response to 3 moral dilemmas. So based on Carol Gilligans, she thinks that this ethic care theory are systematic comparison of females and males. So she thinks that girls tend to use care and responsibility perspective, while boys tend to use a justice perspectives. So what were the main elements of Carol Gilligan's argument of care ethics? So Gilligan argued if women are more emotional than men and pay more attention to relationship rather than rules, this is not a sign of their being less ethical, but rather of different values. They are equally valuable. So there are 3 levels of cares. So actually the research do some interview on this level of care. So the question is about an unhappy marriage to a recalcitrant spouse and the possibility of an emotionally satisfying extramarital relationship according to 3 levels. So the first level and the first stage is survival, which is we are caring for self. And the aims are basically to ensure one's own happiness and to avoid pain. And the answer from her question is dating life is too short to stay in an unhappy situation. There are too many other opportunities to be happy. So the explanation is concern the transition from self-care, which is survival, to a sense of responsibility. So in relationship, although one may be aware of the needs of others, one gives more importance to one's self-interest. So the stage level 2 is caring for other individuals. So the M is about issue in terms of responsibility and care for others to the exclusion of the needs of self. Her happiness is important because it affects the way you raise your children. If you're not happy in a situation, they think you should resolve it. So, in level 2, the concerns transition to a reflective care perspective, marked by a shift in concern from goodness to truth and personal honesty in relationship. Level 3 is individuals fully realize the ethic of care, which is caring for both self and others. So the tension between selfishness and responsibility is resolved through a new understanding of human interconnectedness. So the answer is, I think in this relationship there is more at stake as they have 2 children, which is a big concern. So concern is expressed for everyone impacted in the situation, and attempts are made to minimize hurt to all parties. So in this level, which is she needs to think others parties too. She realized that she needs to caring for others too. So she might have to think about their children. Okay, I'm going to explain about Artistotle justice theory. So according to Ibrahim Pourgoshani Maleke in 2017, justice in the general sense that is to obey laws is indivisible, but justice in a strict sense that is pluralistic with many different displays of justice virtue is divisible. Particular justice and particular injustice thought they exemplify obeying the law and ignoring law respectively, but they are not just like that, and they have a part and the whole relationship. So there are numerous examples of justice and injustice which shape justice and injustice in particular meaning. So basically in these articles, they describe 2 types of justice theory, which is distributive and corrective. So for distributive, it's influence distribution of honor, money and other things among citizens who have shares in the political system of the society. For example, public programs that provide social security or medical care to all elderly and retired persons are examples of distributive justice in a constitutional democracy, while corrective is fundamental type of justice concerned with the reversal of wrongs or the undoings of transactions. It aims to restore what an individual had lost due to the injustice of the society. So lastly is right theory. So according to Manuel Velasquez, Claire Andre, Thomas Shank and Michael in 2014, right is a justified claim on others. For example, if I have the right to freedom, then I have a justified claim to be left alone by others. Most generally, the right is a justified claim against another person's behavior. For example, my right to not be harmed by you. And actually, right theory also see a human rights. So in this article, they explain about 2 types of rights theory. So positive and negative right sound like the topic for a boring political theory lecture, but with the right to healthcare, education, and many other potentials, rights floating around our political atmosphere. It's a topic we need to understand. When you understand positive and negative rights, you understand what's the sentence of this discussion. So the first is negative right, which is the right which impose on others negative duty, a duty not to do anything. For example, the right not to privacy, the right not to be killed, or the right to do what one wants with one's property. So these rights are called negative rights because such rights are claimed by one person that impose a negative duty on all others and the duty not to interfere with a person's activities in a certain area. So, for positive right is the kind of right which impose on others a positive duty, a duty to provide or act in a certain way. For example, a right that provides something that people need to secure their well-being, such as a right to an education, the right to food, the right to medical care. So, a positive right obliges others to provide benefits, while a negative right only obliges others to avoid interfering with someone's liberty. So, I'm going to explain about analysis and comparison between three different articles that I explained just now. Okay, the analysis is Gilligans in a different voice affirmed the perspective that men and women have tendencies to view morality in different terms and different ways, while Aristotle divides justice that is understood as fairness in individuals shared into two forms, distributive and corrective. So right theory holds that any individuals or business purpose should not subject other humans to any form of mistreatment, while comparison between three articles is ethic of justice is characterized by fairness and equality and rational objective decision making based on universal rules and principles, whereas the ethic of care is characterized by caring and is relational, emotional, need-centered, holistic, and contextual in nature. And the rights are claim of the individuals for their development in society and safeguard that protect the interests of the rights and barrier. So lastly, it's about discussion. So the first one is overall, the ethic of care interview appears to be a stable and sensitive test of an individual developmental level of care-based moral thought, which is in at Gilligan ethic of care articles. The second one is overall it seems both men and women have both justice and care orientation available and use them differentially depending on various background and contextual factors. Third one is right theory holds that any individuals or business purpose should not subject for others to any form of mistreatment, and organization and their leadership should thus uphold the required business ethical principle that consider human rights as part of their core ideology of the business foundation. That's all from me. Thank you so much.